When you cook for a family of 8, you begin to know what really hits. Ginger, sorrel, Ponche de Crème, spices, and Lotus bran, bringing it all together. Let's make something everyone will fight over. Okay, so our egg yolks is how it starts in the Ladyfingers, right? So 3 egg yolks in here, dropping in 1/4 cup of sugar. And we're just gonna beat, right? So I'm pulling out my handy dandy, and we're gonna beat until it gets like a nice light pale. So you keep looking on and you'll see it turn to that light pale yellow. You see the bright yellow starts to go, right? Start slowly and then continue. So we can take a look at it now. It's beginning to get that pale yellow and nice and kind of thick. That's what you're looking for. If you have little splatters on the edge, you stop and you want to take your spatula, which I have here, and I'm just kind of pushing the sides down, as you can see, back into the middle so that we're sure to get all of that sugar and egg yolk incorporated into that one nice peel situation. Okay, so now we're at the end. We're looking nice and fluffy. Sugar has been perfectly incorporated with our our egg yolks. You see that? Nice and fluffy and thick and light pale yellow. That's important. If it's still bright, it's not there. Okay, so now that the egg yolk mixture is organized, we're onto the egg white mixture. Same eggs, so no loss here. We have 3 eggs. 3 eggs are being used, just in different ways, right? So we're taking the egg whites now, adding it into our bowl. And then we have, similarly, 1/4 cup of sugar again. This is not being added in all at once, right? We're going to go bit by bit, taking our handy dandy again and starting to whip. As you whip, you're going to see, we're going to get some nice frothy bubbles, and then they're going to continue to move up. And as they move up into stiff peaks, you're going to start adding your sugar bit by bit. So you'll see the process. Let's go. So you see the kind of frothy situation now, like a sea foam, right? And then we're going to start getting thicker peaks. So I'm going to add a bit of sugar in a little while to get back this down. Okay, so now we have a lot frothier mixture here. We're going to start adding sugar bit by bit, right? So we're going a little at a time, right? I'd say that's about 1/3 of the mixture, of the sugar, and we're going. You're seeing it getting nice and frothy, thick. That's what we want. As it dissolves, it gets nice and peaky. Let's go again. Wonderful. And we're seeing it getting doubling in size, tripling in size. That's what we want. Lovely. And more sugar. Until you're finished with your sugar, you continue this process. You don't take your mixer off until you've got all the sugar in, all of it's been incorporated, and this has doubled, even tripled in size. Alrighty, so now you're seeing no more froth, right? And we have like actual serious white consistency and opaque white. That's important as well. It's not transparent. That's exactly what you're looking for. It's beginning to look like whipped cream. That's perfect. And the perfect test is you stop your whisks and you pull it up. Not yet ready, but we're seeing some nice structure. So we're going to continue. And if you take a look inside my bowl, when I pulled up, we ended up with peaks inside of there. Just a little longer, and then we're going to add it right in. Alrighty, so we're ready to go. And our peaks are doing what they're supposed to do. They're standing in the bowl. Perfect. That's exactly what you want. So you set aside your whisks at this point, and you get yourself a spatula. And now you start bringing these two together. So you bring your egg yolks back into the mixture, right? And they're in the picture here now. And now we have a spatula. Why we want to do something called folding. It's a bit of a technique that's needed for this. We don't want to lose all the air that we whipped right into this. So we're going to go bit by bit. And you see how like perfectly it's sticking. There's so many different ways that you can tell that you've gotten it to the texture that you want it at. So we're putting in, I'm going to say about 1/2 of it, right in. So you see the difference in the egg yolk to the egg white, right? Egg white full of air, nice and bouncy, and your egg yolk, of course, waiting for it. And now the folding is that you're taking your spatula and you're almost like you're picking it up and folding it in. Take your time. There's no need to rush this one, right? And you're just kind of folding so they become one batter without heavy whisking or hard hitting of this. We want to keep all the air, all the texture. You see how much volume it brings to the mix as well. which is what we need in the end product. Right, so it does not see perfect just yet. We've got some in. Let's get the other bit in. And get all of it in. End product, you're going to want all of it. Same folding motion. Very therapeutic, if I might add. And there we are. This is exactly what you're looking for. We're going to set this aside and get ready to sift our flour and spices right in. Okay, so now that we have this really nice fluffy kind of mix, we want to now add in our flour. But you don't want to hit out the lovely air that we put in, right? So we're putting a strainer, just so we could sift, right? And then we're going to add in our cornstarch. We're going to add in our spice. And we're going to put in a cup of flour, our cake flour, of course our Lotus cake flour, because why? It's of course lighter, it adds a better product at the end. We are doing desserts and we want to ensure that we have that perfect flour for this. An all-purpose or a bread flour would give us too much gluten, and we're not looking for heavy gluten strands here, okay? So we're putting in our flour. I'm going in bit by bit. So I have a half cup and then another. And then we're just going to sift them right in. And once that's done, you'll see how we get this batter all together. Right? So the typical, you know, little on the wrist. Takes a little time, looks like snow. And you can kind of go somewhat around the entire thing. You don't want like a big bulb of your flour mixture, because you don't want to end up having clumps in this. That's the purpose of sifting in the first place. Granted, Lotus cake flour, you don't really need to be sifting, eh? This thing is perfectly light and beautiful for this exact dessert that we're doing. Very delicate. So we're continuing with this, and then I'm going to start the whipping for the batter. Okay, so now that the flour has been sifted, spiced, all that, we want to now continue with our folding motion. So you can take a look and come in and see. And we're just going to go around, right? And you keep going around at first, and then you start going inward. So you start going inward like so, like what you're seeing me do here. It's going to take a little time, but definitely don't rush it. You've got all that beautiful air into this batter. There's no need to hit him out. So now that we've gotten it pretty much incorporated, you say you're starting to see it's becoming like one dough in the middle. Perfect for you to nurture at the halfway point. And you want to continue to keep that motion. As I told you, you can, turn the bowl as you're seeing me doing as well, to kind of assist with that motion, because the whole point is to keep delicate movements, right? And that's what we're doing here, ensuring that it's totally mixed in. It does not need to be continuously mixed, all right? Remember what we said about gluten strands? We don't need that going on, all right? And 2-3 more of these. You're just really going until you see all of these like dry bits of flour. You don't want any of that. You just want it to become totally a part of this mix. And that's when you know that you're at the end point. There's no other real tester to see. Now we're at the end point, and you can tell because there are no more little streaks of dry flour happening, as you can see. And that's how we know we're ready to go. Let's get it right into our Ziploc bag and begin piping. So I have a prepared wax paper on a greased baking sheet. We have our oven preheating at 350 for about 20 minutes or so. If you see my oven a little higher, it's just because I wanted it to be a little bit higher, all right? Different ovens act differently, right? So you do your thing. So I know the average person has a Ziploc bag at home. Who doesn't? Especially mummies with the sandwiches and the everything else. So we're going to put the batter into here. And if you want to be a little fancy dance pants, you can get these disposable, or even the ones that you can reuse, of the pastry bags. So we're going to do both for you to see kind of how to do it, right? So what you're going to do is forget about cutting the bottom first. You want to get a glass. A glass that's pretty tall, all right? And you're putting him right in front of you. You're getting your bag and you're putting it inward. You're going to say it's not going to fit, all that, I understand. Just put it in so it can stay, and this has somewhere to go into. You're opening, of course, your Ziploc, right? Your sandwich bag. And then you're keeping it in here, and you're going in. Leave it as is. You're going in with your batter. So I'm going to switch from spatula to spoon, and I'm going to get little bits of this and start putting it into my bag. And the good thing is we don't have the cut yet, right? So into the bag. And remember, be gentle because we have the A in here, right? So just a little bit at a time. You don't have to rush this process either, right? And this helps you to ensure that it's perfectly into the X section we want it. Okay, we want air out of the bag. So you're just kind of squeezing the air out. You don't have to worry about tying it off again. And then, now that we have a good hold on it, right? So I'm just switching hands. Get your scissors. And this way you have to kind of think, do you want it to be large ladyfingers? Do you want them to be somewhat thin? So I'm going to go for, I want to say about a medium. And I'm going to cut. Right, let me see. You have a little bit coming out. You can do a little practice first if you want, on somewhere or not. Move your glass, get your prepared dish in front of you, and you're making a few little logs basically. And you're going right in front of you. You're pulling, try to keep an even, strength on it. There you are, 1. Let's go again. Leaving some room, I would say about an inch or 2 between them so that you have space for them to inflate because they get a little, puffy as they go in the oven. And we're just going to continue with this and then catch me right back into the oven. Okay, so now that we've used the little sandwich bag, we can more than use our pastry bag if you want to know how that goes. So this is a disposable, right? Same triangle situation. Goes into your glass. So make sure you don't make any mess. You want to pull it and open it so you're creating like a little lip on it. And the glass helps with that. You could do this, right? So you see what's going on there. And then we're going to start filling with our batter again, right? And this is just to make sure that, you keep things clean in the kitchen. It's able to not waste any of this good stuff, right? And then in we go. And then you fold it right back up when you're ready. You can shake it down a bit to where you want it to get to. Remember, you don't really want too much air in your actual pastry bag, so you keep pushing down. And then now you can cut your spout to where you'd like it to be. So as I said, I'm going to keep it my medium kind of size. I'm just going to twist it up a bit so that we get some pressure. Right, and you want to have some pressure. So whatever works for you in the palm of your hand, cupping the base of it to get some pressure from your hand, natural pressure of like squeezing, right? And then we just kind of squeeze these, keeping a firm pressure and then stopping. Okay, so now that these are ready to get into the oven, a little piece of resistance. This is optional, but you could definitely do it. You want to get some of your icing sugar, of course, Lotus again. Seriously, who do you think you're going to use? And we're going to open, and we're just going to get just a little bit. It's nothing too crazy, it's just to cover the top, right? So I'm just getting a bit. Once again, I want to sift because I want everything to be nice and light, right? So I've put it in. So it creates like a little bit of a snow over the top, and that's fine. You just want a little something on top. And then when it bakes, what it does for you is it leaves a little of that powdery finish on top. And I don't know if you know, but Ladyfingers are great outside of the dessert as well. Whatever leftovers you have it with some coffee or something like that. And these are a great bite. And that little powdered sugar, you will not be upset that you used it. Okay, so our Ladyfingers are in the oven. We got our mascarpone cheese in here. We're going to put in our Ponche de Crème and make our Ponche de Crème filling. Let's go. So you want to make sure that your mascarpone, as you can see, is like more room temp than anything else, right? So you want to take it out of the fridge fairly early, and then you start pouring in your Ponche de Crème. Ponche de Crème of your favorite choice, right? I don't recommend anything too overly flavored, but of course, all the spices, all the everything we have in Ponche de Crème, and you're just waiting for it to get nice and whippy, and then into the fridge and onto the next. Okay, so now we're down to the whipped cream segment of this, right? And we're gonna get some dried sorrel. You may know it as hibiscus flour. You can get it year-round here, but anywhere else as well. So it's really just the sorrel flour that they've kind of pulled out the corny inside out, and they've just dried it, and it's able to be brought back into sorrel. It's dehydrated, so it can be rehydrated. But we want the dehydrated, putting it into a spice grinder and getting a powder out of it, adding it to our powdered sugar. Right, so let's get that going. All right, just putting a few bits of this in, and then we're going to grind. Okay, so we've gotten quite a beautiful powder here, yeah? And we're just gonna add this guy right into our powdered sugar. Not a whole set, just a bit, right? And you can just do so to ensure that you have flecks running through your powdered sugar. Okay, so now that we have our little sorrel-y situation here with our sugar, we're gonna go into our whipped cream. The cream has to be chilled, okay? The colder it is, the better it whips for you. So right in, we're gonna start this up one time and have some patience. You're gonna get it nice and frothy, and then similarly into some peaks, all right? And then we start adding the sugar. Okay, so now that we have some body here with this milk, we're gonna start adding our sugar, just a little bit at a time. I say about half. Yeah, and then the rest. And you just keep going until you get some peaks. We're already getting to that peak stage. So we have some cornstarch to help stabilize our whipped cream. Just putting a little thing, and there we are. Your whipped topping is ready to go and into the fridge. Alrighty, so now we're here with the ginger syrup, and it's basically really just a simple syrup, if you know what that is, right? Which is usually put into cocktails, so on. So we're kind of playing with it and not doing a basic simple syrup. We're going to use some gingerbeer, real Trini vibes, and we're going to do it with some sugar and all little fixings to make it really nice and tasty. So I've got my burner on, and I'm going to put it fairly high. I'm going to say it's about medium at this point, and I'm going to put in my sugar first, right? And then I'm going to put in my gingerbeer of your choice. Even homemade is great. So you see it's going right in. I'm using a gingerbeer soda, so you see a little froth. I like the little effervescence that it brings. And then some orange peel. You know, around this time we have plenty orange peel. Don't throw away orange peel, eh? We have all kind of thing to use it for. And then we have a cinnamon stick. I like to break it because I want to make sure I get the flavor out of it. So I just broke it in half, right? A little nutmeg. You could just cut a nutmeg, like knob, and throw it in if you needed to, but I'm putting in some. And then this is a real oddball, but it's kind of fun. We Trinis like a little spice in the back, something a little different. So I'm adding a Scotch bonnet in. I've already cut one open, but if you're nervous about the seeds and so on being a little too spicy, you can use just a regular Scotch bonnet. Because it'll give a little flavor, but not too much heat. So I'm gonna drop this one in. And that is your simple syrup, gingerbeer syrup, that is happening. And you're just gonna let it bubble and boil for a bit until all of your sugar has dissolved, right? Give it a little swirl, and it'll begin to thicken and become about half of the amount that we have there. And there you are, your gingerbeer syrup. Okay, so now we've gotten to that end point. You see it's kind of like a lacquer, see it? And you see that these bubbles are slow rising, like little blue bloops. I don't know what else you wanna call them. Those are good lacquer bubbles that let you know that it has reduced about half the amount, and this is great for that syrup that we're going to use. If you want to get a little bit more like a candy, you can carry it on for a little longer, but we're good at where we're at now. So we're going to move into the assembly of this whole shindig. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, the assembly of this masterpiece. So we have our beautiful gingerbeer syrup here, and we're going to do two ways. You can kind of figure out which one works for you. And we're going to take the gingerbeer syrup, so you see it's nice and thick, right? I'm just going to drizzle it right in here, so you can take a look. You can come close if you'd like. And take a look, just a little drizzle, right? So you don't want too much, because you do have sugar throughout this meal, right? And then you want to start putting your ladyfingers down, right? And these ladyfingers, just a little note, if you're not making it right way for assembly, remember to keep them in an airtight container so that you do not lose that lovely crisp. But right here, we're putting it in one time. And you just kind of layer them in. If you need to break one or two to just kind of fit the size of your dish, you can more than do that, right? And then, yeah, we're going to put more of that syrup, right? So I'm just going to drizzle right over the fingers. And then in with our Ponche de Crème cream, right? So I'm going to say about a third of it. And you just have to dollop it. It really is no drama here. This is what makes this dessert so fun, really simple, but boy, does it pack a punch for the end product. And I just want to make sure that everybody's covered, kind of like a building of a lasagna, right? And then going in with our sorrel. I know I promised you sorrel, so here's our sorrel. Around this time, you know, people always have compote, or they have jam, or we just have some sorrel left over. Do the same reducing situation, and just put little dollops of this anywhere. So this is my sorrel reduction. It's a bit of a jam that's been reduced. And then right back in with the same layers over and over, but I want to show you how we do this one. So you have the option of doing the drizzle, but then you also have the option of dipping them in, which is a little bit more traditional. So you can dip it right in to your syrup like you see me doing here. The base of it, you can flip, right? Hit off any excess, and then go right in with same layering, right? And you just do which one, you know, you like most. Of course, you can take your cinnamon stick, your orange peel, all of that out upon ending of your syrup. And then we're just going to continue like this. Okay, so we've built as far as our fillings would take us. So now that you have everything done, you're getting your beautifully speckled sorrel whipped cream. So you see what happens when it sits for a little while. It starts to rehydrate. So you see the little pink flecks. It's really pretty. And what we're going to do here is nothing too dramatic. You're literally putting the full dollop of whipped cream on top, right? And then you're just going to kind of create a very artistic type of movement on it. You don't want it to be completely flat, right? Then you want to make sure and put it into the fridge. As you know, this is a chilled dessert, right? So throughout, we've been chilling and so on. You want to make sure to get it into the fridge. And you can do this the night before you want to serve. You can do this a few hours before you want to serve. I recommend at least 2 hours. So it gets a chance to set. And when you take out scoops of it, things don't fall apart on you. And this is a beautiful, lovely dessert. Okay, cutting into this bad boy now. So, yes, I get in everything. Everything we promise is Christmas time.